No, I've been charged with.
You have been.
Nobody said what?
Sir?
You have been.
Nobody said what?
Okay. Okay. What did you do in Russia?
Lee Harvey Oswald's name is tied to more documents, files, rumors, and missing records than almost any suspect in American history. But one of the strangest pieces of the JFK case was not hidden in a vault. It was allegedly dropped off at the Dallas FBI office by Oswald himself shortly before President Kennedy was killed. The note was meant for FBI agent James Hosty, who had been looking into Oswald and had visited his wife, Marina. Then, after Kennedy was assassinated and Oswald was murdered by Jack Ruby, that note was destroyed. For years, the Warren Commission never heard the full story. By the mid-70s, congressional investigators were asking why a piece of evidence connected to the accused assassin had been torn up and thrown away. Before we start, tell us in the comments whether you think this was a panicked cover-up, a bureaucratic blunder, or something more suspicious. Today, we're looking at why the FBI destroyed Oswald's note after JFK was killed. A visit before the motorcade.
Do you think his past problems at 20 years old going to the Soviet Union, did he ever indicate that this may have had something to do with his lack of employment?
I wondered myself whether it did. I think it might have had something to do with his being fired. I don't think it had anything to do with his not being hired. This is not something a person looking for a laborer looks into. He wasn't applying to jobs that would require security clearance or anything looking into his past.
Before the assassination, Lee Harvey Oswald was already known to the FBI. He had defected to the Soviet Union, returned to the U.S., and drawn attention through his political activity, including his public connection to the Fair Play for Cuba Committee. In Dallas, Special Agent James Hosty was assigned to keep track of Oswald's case. Hosty had visited Ruth Paine's home in Irving, Texas, where Marina Oswald was staying. Lee Oswald did not live there full-time, but he learned about Hosty's visit. That seems to have angered him. Sometime before the assassination, Oswald went to the Dallas FBI office looking for Hosty. Hosty was not there, so Oswald left a note in an envelope. That detail alone is strange. The man later accused of killing the president had walked into the local FBI office only days before the assassination. He had asked for a specific agent. Then he left behind a written message that would later vanish. What did the note say?
Maybe I'm missing something, but it doesn't seem quite by the book to tear up a note from the assassin and flush it down the toilet.
That's true. However, I was told to do that. I was following orders. That's true. But the people who were nitpicking me were the ones that ordered me to do it, so I don't feel that they should have been second-guessing me on that point.
Well, that's true, but didn't you wonder that maybe you shouldn't do that, that maybe they were ordering you to commit a crime, basically?
Well, as it turned out, it wasn't a crime.
The problem is no one can quote the note with certainty because the original was destroyed. What investigators later had were memories, and those memories did not match. One version made the note sound explosive. A receptionist later remembered it as a warning that Oswald would blow up the FBI and Dallas Police Department if agents did not stop bothering his wife. Hosty remembered the wording differently. His version was less dramatic, but still tense. According to his recollection, Oswald told Hosty to talk to him directly if he wanted to know anything, stop bothering Marina, and said he would take appropriate action and report it to proper authorities. One of those versions makes Oswald sound like he was making a violent threat. The other makes him sound angry, suspicious, and hostile towards the Bureau, but not necessarily ready to bomb anything. Since the note no longer exists, the exact tone is lost. The day everything changed.
There he is, a slight fellow with some scratches.
I positively know nothing about this situation here. I would like to have legal representation.
On November 22, 1963, President Kennedy was assassinated in Dallas. Oswald was arrested later that day. Suddenly, every prior FBI contact with Oswald became more than routine paperwork. It became part of a national crisis. Hosty was in a terrible position. He was the FBI agent whose name appeared in Oswald's address book. He had dealt with Marina. He had a connection to Oswald shortly before the president's visit to Dallas. The FBI also had its own reputation to protect. If the Bureau knew Oswald was angry enough to deliver a warning note, why had that not raised more concern before Kennedy arrived in Dallas? 2 days later, November 24th, Oswald was shot and killed by Jack Ruby. According to Hosty, that same evening he was told by his superior, Gordon Shanklin, the special agent in charge of the Dallas office, to destroy the note and a memo Hosty had written about it. The note disappears.
Since Oswald was dead and there could be no trial, and since it had never been entered into the record, and of course I wished I hadn't have done it.
Hosty later said, as you already heard, that he followed the order. He destroyed the note and the memorandum. With that, one of the most direct pre-assassination contacts between Oswald and the FBI disappeared. Shanklin denied ordering the destruction and said he had not known about the note until the story surfaced years later. That left investigators with a clash between Hosty's account and Shanklin's denial. Another FBI official, William Sullivan, recalled hearing about the incident, which made Shanklin's total denial harder for some later investigators to accept. The House Select Committee on Assassinations reviewed the matter and did not find Shanklin's denial convincing. The Warren Commission had not been told about the destroyed note. Hosty testified in 1964, but did not volunteer the story. He later said he'd been instructed by the FBI not to volunteer information. A trust problem.
Almost exactly 10 months after the fateful November 22nd, the 7 members of the Warren Commission, headed by the Chief Justice of the Supreme Court, come to the White House to give to the President the results of their painstaking investigation into the determinable facts of the assassination of President John F. Kennedy.
The destroyed note was not the only issue that bothered later investigators. The Warren Commission also learned that the FBI's first transcription of Oswald's address book had left out Hosty's name and information. The Bureau later explained that Hosty's entry had not been included because it was already known and not considered new lead information. Still, to Commission staff, that omission damaged trust. The note made that trust problem worse. It suggested the FBI had more contact with Oswald before the assassination than the Commission fully understood. It also raised questions about whether the Bureau was too concerned with protecting itself. Former Warren Commission staff members later indicated that knowledge of the destroyed note would have led to serious criticism of the FBI. Even if it did not change the final conclusions about Oswald, it would have changed how the Bureau's behavior was judged. What it did not prove.
But someday, somewhere, someone may find out the damn truth. We better, or we might just as well build ourselves another government, like the Declaration of Independence says, to when the old one ain't working, just a little farther out west.
The destroyed note has lived for decades in the space between fact and suspicion. The fact is, Oswald visited the FBI office, left a note, and the note was destroyed after Oswald died. The suspicion is about why. Some have wondered whether the note contained something far more important than a complaint about Marina. Oliver Stone's JFK even floated the idea that perhaps the note warned about the assassination. That theory makes for a dramatic scene, but it's never been proven. The more grounded explanation is also troubling. The note may have shown that Oswald was more agitated than the FBI later wanted to admit. It may have shown that the Bureau had received a warning sign, failed to treat it seriously, and then destroyed evidence that would make the Bureau look careless. That does not require a grand conspiracy. It only requires fear, embarrassment, and an agency culture that did not want damaging information handed to outsiders. Why it still matters.
Certainly, concern with public reputation, problems of coordination between agencies, possible bureaucratic failures and embarrassment, and the extreme compartmentation of knowledge of sensitive operations may have contributed to these shortcomings. But the possibility exists that senior officials in both agencies made conscious decisions not to disclose potentially important information.
The Oswald note matters because it shows how messy the first days after the assassination really were. The public often imagines evidence moving neatly from the crime scene to investigators to history books. In this case, a key piece of paper was allegedly destroyed before the Warren Commission ever had the chance to study it. It also matters because the JFK assassination became a crisis of confidence. Every missing record, every withheld fact, and every unexplained decision made the official story harder for many Americans to accept. The note probably would not have solved the assassination. It may not have proved anything beyond Oswald's anger at the FBI. But destroying it created a far larger question than preserving it ever would have. Now it's time to hear from you. Do you think the destroyed Oswald note was simply an embarrassing FBI mistake, or does it point to something the Bureau badly wanted to hide? Let us know in the comments section below.